Well, you know what, Ben, let me talk to you about like logistics a little bit so people get a more understanding of what we're doing. So we put out a call for people to participate with the Leonard Quartet. And the idea was, we get a bunch of scores and then they review them, which ones they sort of want to work on and stuff. And then we do, a rehearsal online. They do like a little bit of a reading beforehand, and then the composer gets to join in. What'd you think about that? Like the process and how it went? And
Yeah, I thought that went really, really well, and I think it's a good way, particularly in this time. Even though things are opening up, it's not like things are back to normal, right? So it's a really great way of hearing something, done by professional musicians, and kind of gauging, your composition. I know that one of the reasons it appealed to me is that I wrote this piece a while back. I wrote it for the Verdi Quartet in Germany, but I wasn't happy with the ending. And so one of the reasons that I wanted to apply was so that I could try a new ending and see if that ending made it better. So I think it's a really creative way of assimilating what might happen in real life. What composers, you can put something on MIDI and hear a playback, and if that's what your final product is, fine and good, right? You can manipulate it and make it sound however you want, but that's not the reality of a live acoustic musician playing your piece. And so the gold for any composer of acoustic music or electroacoustic music or whatever is to be able to collaborate with the performer and get as much feedback as they can and tweak things and to make it better, sort of like in the theater world where you workshop, you get notes, you make changes, you come back the next day, you get changes. Right. So that is so like impossible right now, right? So any degree of that is a real positive. And the more of that takes place, the more the composer learns, the more the composer grows. And, that's like the cool part of being a composer. You spend that time, in your room or with the piano or with the computer or whatever, and then interacting with a live performer is for me, I learn as much or more from that than I would if I consulted with my fellow composers or whatever, right? It's like that's where the learning and the growth and the enlightenment sort of takes place, right?
I feel like that's the way for sort of composers to grow and learn, learn from your own mistakes and non mistakes, right? There's these happy accidents and all sorts of things that happen.
It's absolutely the best way to learn. And that was the whole thing, where it's like composers got multiple opportunities to hear their stuff, get feedback, go back in their room, make changes, hear what the difference between the original and the changes, and that's like something 100 years ago or whatever. If you were in a court or something and you had an orchestra, I mean, you got to play around as much as you wanted to.
Right.
And today that is just so hard. It's how can composers grow and have an experience that someone maybe 50 years ago would have had, but have it in 2021, right? That's why things like this fill that gap and help people grow and learn and all of that.